needed music whilst she was driving, and noticed in the mirror that something had been caught under the rear screen wiper. She switched it on, and the fragment, a leaf, was dragged to and fro across the window, but wasn't dislodged. Cordelia switched it off, hummed a bar or two of Every Time We Say Goodbye with Ella Fitzgerald, and thought about the soak and its elderly owner, who was clearly thrilled at the prospect of being written up for Country Illustrated. She'd spoken to him on the telephone, and he sounded an absolute sweetie. She did a quick mental check-up. Had she remembered to pack the spare batteries for her tape recorder? She pulled off at the Sedgemoor service station and got out so as to give McGregor a run. Whilst he paced elegantly along the hedge line, Cordelia removed the small square of sodden paper from behind the windscreen wiper. It almost came apart in her fingers, but she could see patches of bright colour, and she tried to smooth it flat on the bonnet of the car, squeezing out the moisture, puzzled as to how it could have become wedged. She guessed that it might be an advertisement, tucked there by somebody in the supermarket car park, but she was surprised that she hadn't noticed it before. The rain had done its work, and it was impossible now to guess at what it had been. She scrumpled the fragment and put it into her pocket. The rain had stopped, and gleams of watery light slipped between the rags of cloud that were blown before the southwesterly wind. She opened the door for McGregor to scramble onto the back seat, and then went to get a mocha and a pain au chocolat. Angus phoned just after she turned off the M5 at Junction 13 and was heading towards Stroud. She pulled in at the side of the road and picked up her mobile. "Where are you?" she asked. "Have the boys gone?" "Yes, they're safely en route. Don't worry. The coast is clear. I'm on my way to Tewkesbury, hoping to moor up overnight in the marina. You've got the map?" "Yes, I'll phone when I've finished at the soak. I've no idea how long it might take. Oh, did they love the narrowboat?" "It was a huge success. We've all agreed that we want to do it again. Speak later, then. Good luck." She drove on through Stroud and into the lanes that led to Frampton Parva, stopping once or twice to check the directions. As she turned into the lane signposted to the village, she saw the soak at once and pulled onto the verge under the hedge. It stood across the fields at the end of its own drive. Golden stone, 3 stories high, mullion windows, and, only a few yards further along the lane, a tiny, beautiful church. The combination of church and house was quite perfect, and she wondered if the photographer had spotted it. Cordelia let McGregor out, knowing that he might have to wait in the car for some while, and stood, enjoying the scene and the warm sunshine. Now she could see 2 figures moving outside the soak, one gesticulating, the other slung about with equipment. So the photographer had arrived. She hoped it was Will Goddard. She liked working with Will. She put her hands into her pockets, and her fingers came into contact with the ball of paper. She took it out and tried to flatten it into some kind of identifiable shape. It was drier now, and she could just make out a picture. It looked like a poorly photocopied photograph. 2 people, in an imposing doorway at the top of some steps, a hotel perhaps, turning towards each other. She half recognized the embroidered denim jacket as her own, but why should it be? Cordelia turned it over to see if there might be some clue on the back of the paper. There had been something written there, but the ink was smudged and illegible. She folded the paper more carefully this time and dropped it back into her pocket. McGregor came loping towards her, and she coaxed him into the car with the promise of a biscuit and settled him again. She checked her bag, tape recorder, notebook, pencil, ran her eye over a list of questions to refresh her memory, and drove down to the gateway of Charteris Soak. 3 hours later, on the narrowboat, while Angus made tea, she described the soak, the courtroom, with its beautiful judge's seat set within an ancient barred window, the carved stone fireplace with its coat of arms and the secret door to the tower, which had once been a fortified treasury, and its charming owner, whose family had lived there for centuries. Presently she stretched and looked about her appreciatively. "This is fun," she said. "And we've got all day tomorrow to ourselves. What bliss!" "I thought we'd go upriver to Pershore," he said. "Let's hope McGregor likes being a water gypsy. Does Henrietta know where you are? How is she acclimatizing?